everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Fear the Walking Dead video. So I want to talk about Fear the Walking Dead episode 9. In this episode, it seems like we are actually going to the sanctuary, and so I wanted to get into that here because, I mean, it's a pretty big episode, and, you know, because we are going back there, and because we only have a couple of episodes left, like, this episode could really feature a lot of, like, spin-off setup, right? Like, a big thing that I'm wondering about is, you know, will Dwight end up on Dead City? I hope he does. There's still so much story, I believe anyways, to be told between Dwight and Negan. Like, you had the Croat there, he was a connection to the Savior arc, you know, you had Simon there. It makes sense to have Dwight involved in some way in Dead City. I feel like you can really connect a lot of things there, you know, Dwight and Sherry especially. Like, there's a lot you can do there, so I hope that they do that, because honestly, it would really make, like, season 2 or season 3, depending on when he shows up, it would make it so unbelievably hyped. And I feel like where we're going right now, Dwight might be a character for, like, season 3, but he might show up in season 2, like, in the end kind of thing. Like, that's kind of what I'm expecting right now, but we'll have to wait and see. But like I said, this episode here, episode 9, we're going back to the sanctuary. We did get a trailer, so I want to break down a lot of this here and talk about some predictions. So before we go any further, make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. There's going to be a lot to talk about here. You know, we're building up to this one episode here, and then the episode afterwards is episode 10, and then the one after that is obviously the I guess the 2-part finale. And at some point there, we're likely going to be getting a trailer, obviously, for Fear the Walking Dead, not Fear the Walking Dead, but for The Walking Dead: The Ones Who Live. That show's premiering in, like, almost 3 months from now, and there's no real trailer, there's no real tease at any sort of story at all. There's just literally, like, these small teasers of what Rick's been up to kind of thing. So, like, I do think that once Fear the Walking Dead is over, you know, we're gonna get that official trailer for The Walking Dead: The Ones Who Live. At least it would be smart for them to do that. Like, if they didn't do that and they released it way later, I don't know, that just seems kind of ridiculous. Like, I think you have to release that. So there's gonna be a lot of stuff coming out here. I'm really, really excited, and 2024 is gonna be a really big year for the Walking Dead universe. So in this episode here, episode 9, I mean, the episode is literally titled Sanctuary, and the synopsis for this episode reads: fractured after escaping the downfall of the tower, the survivors find themselves facing the challenges of life under Padre, where they will be forced to choose between who they've become and who they want to be. So, you know, a lot of that is kind of, it's really hard to say, like, what that means in general, and it's like, it's very vague. And so is Dwight there at Padre? Does the episode begin with our characters at Padre, or is it going to end with Dwight and Sherry and June going back to Padre? Like, there's actually quite a bit of story here that still has to be told, because there are some shots of, like, June and Dwight and Sherry, and there was Strand, and Strand is on a boat with them, and then he, like, jumps off and, like, goes towards Padre again, I guess, because that's just where he wants to be. And so afterwards, do June, you know, Strand, or not Strand, but June, Sherry, and Dwight, do they just go off to the sanctuary at that point? Does June go to the sanctuary? That's a question I have. Like, that's what I'm really interested in this episode. I can't wait to see, you know, just sort of what comes of it. I will say I will be disappointed if the episode is a flashback episode in which we just see Dwight and Sherry at the sanctuary, because obviously 6 or 7 years has passed, and our characters, actually, wait, I'm so wrong with that. What am I thinking? Like, Dwight and Sherry were literally there in the first half of season 8, so they're still around. So actually, yeah, you know, when they go to the sanctuary, that should be a later thing. So they're actually going to be leaving Padre and going there. So they should be at the sanctuary towards the end of the episode. And so this episode here could be the goodbye of, you know, Dwight and Sherry. And it's kind of insane to think about it, but, like, in, you know, episode 8, they killed off Charlie. Episode 9, you know, they could be saying goodbye to Dwight and Sherry and maybe June. Episode 10, they could say goodbye to other characters. And then after that, it's the 2-part finale. It's going to be kind of insane, but the next couple of episodes are actually going to be really, really crazy. Like, goodbyes to a lot of characters, and they're wrapping up a lot of stuff here. So we do see some shots of Dwight, and obviously he seems like he's going through a lot. I don't know if he's having hallucinations or whatever. It looks like there's a scene where he almost gets, like, attacked by Troy, but that's just kind of what it looks like. I don't think that's actually what it is, because he says something like, how'd you know I was here, or something like that. There's a lot of, like, melting walkers, or, like, there's, like, iron or like metal or whatever that's, like, sort of melted on their heads, and I believe this is at the sanctuary. Like, it actually kind of seems like this episode is going to be pretty heavily featured at the sanctuary. And you know they're at the sanctuary because there's this one shot right here where you see a bunch of walkers, and you can just tell by the glass right there, like, this is in the main part of the sanctuary. And remember, timeline wise, this is around when the Walking Dead final season ended. I mean, I guess basically that last episode, like, this pretty much lines everything up to the point where they can actually have Dwight and Sherry, you know, in the spinoffs if they wanted to. Like, everything's sort of lined up to where the characters are just, they're there now kind of thing, right? And that's why, to me, I think this whole thing of, Dwight and Sherry going to the sanctuary, it needs to happen a bit later. And if this is one of those things where the episode begins with this, but it ends with them back at Padre kind of thing, it's frustrating because that would mean that they probably left around the same time that Morgan left, right? And Morgan, he was going back home. And that's what we learned in Fear the Walking Dead, was that Morgan was going back home to Alexandria, or at least he was going to go search for Rick, but that was like one place he was going to go stop, basically, right? So like Morgan and Dwight, they must have traveled back together, but obviously they didn't because Morgan like went on his own. But it would just be, kind of weird for them to like leave at the same time, basically, but like not go together, right? So like that's why I'm hoping that the sanctuary stuff happens later. This way it makes more sense timeline wise. Like a couple of months have passed kind of thing. Maybe it's been a few weeks or whatever. And yeah, we just see Dwight and Sherry back at the sanctuary. I hope that June is here. Like it's kind of hard to tell from the shots if June is actually going to be at the sanctuary. I know that she's with them, especially at Dwight and Sherry's house. Like it seems like she actually goes on the trip with them, but we have this one shot of her here and she stepped outside the car. I'm guessing she's going to go talk to Dwight and Sherry or something in this scene, and it would just be kind of cool to have June at the sanctuary. Like that's there's hasn't been a lot of Fear the Walking Dead characters that have interacted with things Walking Dead related. So to have June in an area like that would be so cool. And when I say Walking Dead related, I don't mean like obviously Morgan and Dwight were on Fear. I'm not saying that. I just mean like Fear characters going over to places that the Walking Dead have been, like the Sanctuary or like Alexandria, right? It's always been Walking Dead characters going to Fear. But if June was at the Sanctuary, that's so different. We haven't had anything like that before. So that would be really incredible to see. We have this shot here of Sherry, and it's kind of hard to say what this shot is really related to. I don't know if this is actually at the sanctuary. Like the one thing that I'm really interested in terms of the sanctuary story is how much it brings up in terms of drama and stuff like that in their lives, because obviously they both went through a lot of hard things there at the sanctuary, right? Like they dealt with a lot because of Negan. And I just feel like, if you're crafting this story here, it makes so much sense that for both of them, they're going to go here. They're going to go to the sanctuary to maybe confront their past or do something like that. And it's going to bring up a lot of stuff. And they're probably going to feel like, you know what? We need to find out if Negan is still alive and we need to basically take him out kind of thing, right? Like that might be something that they actually have to do because they just can't really get over it. There could be a revenge thing. There could be something that they need that closure on kind of thing. And it's just perfect because Dead City is right there. And in terms of a spinoff and all of that, that is something that fans are going to be so excited about. If Dwight and Sherry were on that show, to have Dwight and Negan in a scene together again, to hear Negan say like Dwighty boy or whatever, all of that is so exciting. All of that is going to be something that just, again, it hypes up Dead City. It makes it so much more exciting because like I said before, Dead City, like season 2, I'm really excited for season 2, but like when you compare what that show did to Daryl Dixon season 1, like both, in terms of quality and writing and stuff, really great, really amazing. Obviously, like we all like the show. I just think when you're actually looking at, the excitement and the main plot of a lot of these shows here, Daryl Dixon really delivered on a lot of it, right? Like that show with the variant walkers and stuff, that is something that people are really excited about in terms of the direction of the universe. Like people want to see a lot more of that. And Dead City, it did advance some plot, but not really. And so I think, you can't really get into variant walkers on that show, at least not yet. I feel like at some point maybe you can, but right now the story is just a little different, and they set up some stuff with the Dama and stuff that's really exciting. So I can't wait to see how that works, but I think having Dwight there could really introduce some really interesting conflict because, they're going to want to try and kill Negan, but will Maggie want that? Probably not, right? So there's a lot of stuff there. And so I would like to see some scenes between Maggie and Dwight or Maggie and Sherry discussing, some stuff with Negan and what to do with him kind of thing. And maybe they learn, like Maggie literally went through the worst of it in terms of trauma and stuff from Negan, that it's like, if she can kind of forgive him or not forgive him, but just like be okay with him being alive kind of thing, they should as well, right? So this episode here of Fear the Walking Dead looks really, really good. Like going back to the sanctuary, it really seems exciting. I really feel like this is probably Dwight's last episode of Fear the Walking Dead. I could be wrong, but it's just sort of the vibe that I'm getting here is that this could actually be the last episode here because I really feel like that's the way they're structuring a lot of this here because Morgan's already off the show. Charlie's off the show now. This one here could be the goodbye to Dwight and Sherry. episode 10 could be the goodbye to, I'm trying to think of some other characters, but like just some other random characters or whatever. And then, or maybe it just sets up something, I don't know. But those last 2 episodes, like I just really feel like they're setting up Alicia's return and stuff. So it kind of feels like that's overall what they're doing here. But again, we'll have to wait and see. But my prediction right now is that this episode is going to end with a sort of like spin-off setup in a sense, where Dwight is basically going to be like, all right, we're going to go and try to find him, or they're going to go off in this direction or something. And then we're all going to be like, okay, so he could be in a spin-off kind of thing, right? Because Morgan left and it wasn't so certain like, oh, Morgan's going to be in the Rick and Michonne spin-off or something like that. But there's that possibility of him returning at some point in the future, because literally his story ended with him going to go search for Rick Grimes, right? So, there's going to be questions at some point in the future, like, did Morgan ever find Rick or whatever, right? So it's an interesting place to sort of end the story, because it almost confirms in a way that Morgan at some point should be back. But, so I'm really excited for this episode. Honestly, out of all the episodes, I would say I'm the most excited for this one. And then we'll just have to see, I guess, for the finale, because like the finale, obviously I'm the most excited for that. But besides like the hype for how it ends, this one specifically, because we're going back to the sanctuary, I think there's just a lot of really cool things that they're able to do here. And I want to see just the references, like what they talk about, and if there's any mentions to what if they talk about Daryl, like that would be really cool, because Dwight was literally told by Daryl, I don't want to see you around here anymore. And if I see you around here, I'm going to kill you, basically, right? So like, does Dwight mention that? Because he's literally going back to the same exact area, right? So it's interesting. I want to see where this goes. Do they even mention Alexandria, or mention, wanting to go and check out what that place is like or something? Like, I'm interested in the story here and what they're actually going to say. But anyways, I'm going to leave it here. Make sure to post all your thoughts down below. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.